sacrifice, service, integrity. These are the qualities demanded of those called to be fire chiefs and officers. This week, thousands of the top fire service leaders in the world are gathering in Atlanta, Georgia for Fire Rescue International 2019. FRI is proudly held by the International Association of Fire Chiefs, the preeminent global advocate for fire and emergency services. Join us as we cover the major events, newsmakers, and initiatives from this year's conference. We are IAFC TV. Hello and welcome back to another episode of IAFC TV. This is our fourth and final day of coverage of FRI 2019 here at the Georgia World Congress Center in Atlanta, and we are thrilled to be reporting from the exhibit hall floor today. Let's begin with the incoming IAFC president. We are pleased to be joined by Chief Gary Ludwig, the incoming president. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
What do you see as some of your priorities for the upcoming year?
So I have four initiatives. One is we want to reduce cardiac deaths of firefighters. Half of the firefighter deaths are cardiac related. So I have a program that we're going to kick off, and actually the first meeting is here at FRI. It's called If You Don't Feel Well, Don't Make It Your Farewell. And it's going to be an awareness campaign that if a firefighter doesn't feel well, that they don't ignore that. They don't go home. They let the other firefighters know about that, and we get them checked out. At the minimum, we put them on an EKG monitor and see what their heart's doing. Because there's a common theme among firefighters. That is, when they say they don't feel well, they don't feel right, something's wrong, we tell them to go home. We tell them to go lay back in the bunk hall, and sometimes, unfortunately, we find them dead. So that's a trend that we can reverse and we can make a difference. One of my other initiatives is I want to challenge those fire chiefs that are not part of our organization, but are benefiting from our efforts and riding our coattails. They're getting AFG grants, SAFER grants. They're benefiting from our lobbying efforts on legislation to join our organization. If you're going to ride our coattails, you need to join our organization and make us even stronger. Another thing that I'm going to try to push and initiate is that we need to increase our brand, not only nationally but internationally. We need to tie into the TV stations, the national network stations, not only nationally but internationally. The BBC, English Al Jazeera, China Global, CBC, the other stations that we can increase our brand, increase our outreach, and deliver the message of the IAFC and the fire service. And lastly, one of the things I think we should do as a symbolic gesture to the military is that we should lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier as an association every year as a gesture and a show of solidarity, because they've been handed the mantle for the fight on terrorism. As
you look across the landscape of your industry, what are some of your greatest concerns and some of the concerns that you're hearing from other fire chiefs?
So one of the things I hear mostly in the 42 years I've been in the fire service is I don't have enough money in my budget. And so we as the IAFC as an organization can help you there. We can't give you more money, we can't print more money, but we can help you by giving you more resources to figure out how you can be more efficient with less money, how you can network with other fire chiefs and determine what has been successful for them when the challenges they have met. So it's not an island where you have to try to figure it out alone. This organization has the resources to help you get through those difficult times financially, and also the chiefs that have been there and done that can help you also.
I understand this is a very big week for you and your family, not just becoming the IAFC president, which is a huge deal. What else is going on this week?
I'm excited about my family coming here. My daughter and my grandchildren are coming in this evening. My wife is already here. Who I wish was here is my mother and father, but they're basking in God's glory right now in heaven. And my son, couldn't be more proud of my son. He's a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force, training to be a fighter pilot. And he graduates from flight school November 1st, and the program is just too rigorous for him to be here. And I wish he was here. But aside from that, it's going to be a great week. I'm here with some great chiefs and some great people. The Fire Rescue International always hits my reset button, as I like to say. I always come out of here so energized with all the things that are going on and all the people I fellowship and all the things that I learn. And so I'm looking forward to all those things this week.
What are you looking forward to most this year?
Well, one of the things I'm looking forward to most this year is the ability to create more of a member-driven organization. And that's what we're here for, is for the members. And that means I'm going to be working with not only the board, but our sections and our committees and all the leadership and the IAFC staff, and most importantly, our members. And that's what we're here for. We're a member-driven organization. We're here to serve our members. And so it's going to be an honor for me to serve and be in that capacity.
Chief Ludwig, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations. Best of luck this year.
Thank you so kindly.
It was great to speak with incoming President Chief Ludwig. Every year at IAFC, in addition to interviewing the newsmakers and covering the big events, we also profile some of the departments and organizations doing innovative things in the fire service right now. Here's a preview of who we're profiling today.
Being involved in the community gets our firefighters down to the street level so they understand what goes on, they understand the culture, they understand the people.
We want you to be able to come to a training, get on a prop and say, hey, I can see that happening in my town, and know how to safely handle it.
With a state as big as ours and as diverse as ours, the only way that we can accomplish our mission is through the power of partnership, whether it's a landowner, a citizen, a community, or a fire department.
We take the opportunity to actually look at our fire data in order to determine what issues that we're seeing within the county, and that's how we focus our fire safety programs.
We've developed electronic billboards, media messaging signs, Facebook targeting for geographic areas to ensure they're getting the right message at the right time so they can make the right decision.
For our first profile, we head to Texas.
The main mission of TEACS is actually pretty broad. We don't just do fire training like you're seeing behind me. We do training for law enforcement, we do business development training, we do infrastructure training. So what most people would consider public works, high line training for line workers and wastewater, utility type of training, we do that as well. We're very cutting edge in the training that we deliver. Year round, we're providing training related to leadership, basic firefighting skills, advanced firefighting skills, shipboard, aircraft, industrial, or structural firefighting. We're also home to Texas A&M Task Force 1 and Texas A&M Task Force 2. We have the largest fire school in the United States. It's the second largest one in the world. The only one larger than this is over in the Middle East in Qatar, and that one is actually managed by us. Our instructors train there, we manage that particular site as well.
TEACS is a world-known name in the emergency response training industry. We've trained in over 80 countries. This past year, we train all over the United States. We also have an extension program that goes out all over the state of Texas. We provide industrial fire training, municipal fire training, hazmat, rescue, and all leadership courses here at the facility. This past year, we trained over 116,000 students. There's no other training facility in the world that can say that they've made that type of impact. One of the big aspects of TEACS is the curriculum. We use career firefighters, people that are in the business, to be the subject matter experts, to make sure that we are developing curriculum that has real-world application in it. Disaster City is 60 acres of engineered buildings and rescue props. You won't find a disaster city anywhere in the world that is more realistic than what we have here at Brayton Firefield. Our training field, it has both industrial and municipal props. We have burn buildings for interior firefighting, structural firefighting, that we do the training there. We also have industrial props. Our municipal firefighters today have more industry in their districts than they've ever had before. So it is important that they also are out here on these industrial props and learning how to handle an industrial situation safely. We're known for our fire training, but we also want to be known for all the other aspects of emergency services training that we can do. We do high angle rescue, confined space rescue, rope rescue. We also do train the FEMA teams. We do hazmat training. And then we have the EOTC, the Emergency Operations Training Center. That's where we do our higher level professional training for more of your officer level, PIO level, fire chief level.
Because my training is so diverse and well-rounded, it's brought different things back to the city, different things back to my company that I can now pass down to the firefighters that are assigned to me.
Coming to TEEX and taking these classes, it makes me a more well-rounded asset. I've been trained in all these different specialties, and so if they need somebody at the wildland station or, hazmat station, I can fill in for that.
My dad started bringing me up here in 1968. He was an instructor out here, and so this year is the 90th. I can remember all the way back to about the 39th or 38th school, and I've watched this fire school develop into this world-class operation that it is, and this annual school every year is it's a tradition.
We have an overarching goal of 300 by 30, 300,000 students by 2030. That's very attainable for us, and that's a combination of training, physical site training and then online training. But really what we need to be known for, and I believe we already are, but we want to continue to expand that, is delivering cutting edge training that is the highest quality. And that's what draws people back to us year after year.
We have the greatest fire training field in the world. The props are all realistic. And that's the main thing. We want realism in our training. We want you to be able to come to a training, get on a prop and say, hey, I can see that happening in my town or my facility, and know how to safely handle it.
We are joined by Chief Kevin McGee. He is the chair of Terrorism and Homeland Security Committee. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tara. It's great to be here.
So today's climate, unfortunately, we have to talk about active shooters.
Sure.
Can you tell us what information and what resources are out there in regards to the Terrorism and Homeland Security Committee on what fire chiefs can do when they're faced with a situation?
Well, this is an urgent topic for the fire service and for public safety in general. Fire departments and EMS agencies must work with their law enforcement partners to prepare for these incidents. And as we're seeing even within the last few days, there's no community that's immune from an act of violence event, no matter how big or how small you are. And what we do is very critical in the survivability of people who are attacked from these vicious incidents. So our committee has done a lot of work. There's a lot of resources that we have available for fire departments. You can go to our webpage and we have an active shooter toolkit. We've gotten all the literature that we can find on this topic that's available to the fire service, and we hope our members take advantage of it. And reach out to your police department if you haven't done so already. And begin developing your policies and training. There's a lot of good model policies out there for you to follow. So, and looking at the NFPA 3000 document for guidance as well.
What are some of the other big issues that you're working on this year?
Well, currently our focus is on cybersecurity and information sharing. So those two key areas are important to us because not only from a cybersecurity is our mission critical technology systems at risk from cyber attacks, but we also must respond if there is a major cyber attack in our communities or in our nation. And we're examining what our role is in the event there is a major attack that knocks out critical infrastructure. What is the fire service role? And so we're currently working with the Army Cyber Institute to conduct some exercises to examine what are the physical impacts of a cyber attack that the fire service might need to respond to. How does response to a cyber institute fit within the NIM system? And what kind of resources could we put together for the fire service in the event that they must respond to an incident, large incident such as this? The other key area is information sharing. If our members recall the 9/11 report, one of the vulnerabilities of our nation was that our disciplines and our agencies weren't communicating and sharing information. And so that report recommended that we tear down the silos. And a key player in information sharing is the fire service. We're a recipient of information, but we're also a producer of information. So it's important that we're at the table with the Joint Counterterrorism Assessment Team, the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Forces within the regions, and also our local fusion centers.
So going back to being cyber safe, how can the fire department know that their communication is cyber safe?
The first thing they need to do is reach out to their jurisdictional chief information officer and have that discussion about what their critical, mission critical information systems are and how they can be protected from a cyber attack, from spoofing and phishing and those types of things. There's three key components of an information technology system. There's hardware, there's software, and the third one is orgware. Orgware is the people. And the terrorists, the hackers, they understand the most vulnerable part of that system is the people, and that's what they go for. You have a department of, let's say, 100 people. It only takes one person for a hacker to infiltrate your system and shut it down and then demand ransomware to be able to get your system back up and running.
All right, Chief McGee, fantastic information. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
An important update from Chief McGee. In our next profile, we head to South Carolina.
Help! Help! No! Got you, buddy. I'm glad you guys are here.
Myrtle Beach has over 10 miles of beach, which means we have 10 miles of ocean. And with the number of visitors that we do have and our residents, we really have to provide the best public safety we can on our beaches. We are relatively a very small town with only 33,000 in our permanent population, but in the summer months we swell to over 18 million plus visitors. So having a dedicated ocean rescue team, I feel, is imperative to our public safety plan. Our police department for over 30 years was responsible for our beach and ocean safety. But as our city grew, it just did not become feasible any longer. So the decision was made to move it over to the fire department.
So as of March of 2018, we took over the full responsibility of the beach. We knew it was a large undertaking. One of our core principles is we believe we're an elite team. So there was no doubt in my mind that our department would respond to that and respond in a positive manner. So our ocean rescue team is comprised of 38 specialized individuals that respond to marine incidents.
We're one of 8 departments on the East Coast that have the USLA ART certificate. That stands for Aquatic Rescue Response Team, which again we can respond 24 hours a day, 365 days out of the year. We have 4 Colorados that have rescue boards on them. We also have 4 jet skis, 3 UTVs, and 1 boat that we can utilize if needed. When the team first started, there was a big group of us that initially were eager to start this program, and it seems to be following suit with new members joining each year.
We have individuals on the apparatus working the normal shifts, but we didn't reduce any staffing or change any of our deployment models. It's all fully funded by overtime and firefighters working on their days off to provide this service to the beach.
So I'm a firefighter paramedic every 3rd day for 24 hours. And then in my time off, I work 8 hours a day on the beach. I almost think of it as 2 different jobs, but it's still gratifying that I'm helping people in the city of Myrtle Beach, our visitors, our residents, in the same capacity, but a little bit different on the beach, you know.
Our number 1 goal is to provide the safety of our residents and guests while they're on the beach, and also serve as an ambassador while we're down there. 2018 was a great year. 2,000 times we had just normal conversations with people on where to go eat, get directions, that sort of thing. About 500 times our crews down there were able to provide medical assistance, so we didn't have to send an ambulance or a first responder. And we actually had 16 confirmed rescues that summer.
Of course, it is, getting in the water and saving someone that's in trouble, but it goes beyond that, as in the educational part, letting people know how not to be in that position, talking to them about weather, talking to them about different currents, how to get out of the, a rip current, how to get out of longshore currents.
We have plans for hurricanes, we have plans for fires, but when people go to the beach, we don't necessarily think of having a plan for that. Where do you go if you do lose your child or you become separated? The challenge for us is that we're dealing with 18 million visitors. It's not just the 30,000+ people that live here annually. So how do you get that message to those people?
People come in on vacation and are here for a week at a time, so we get to spend a very short amount of time with them. So we've developed electronic billboards, media messaging signs, Facebook targeting for geographic areas. We're doing everything we can to specifically target the people who are here in that time frame to ensure they're getting the right message at the right time so they can make the right decision. In 2018, we had 219 missing children who were relocated with their families that day. That's a staggering number. One is far too many. So we decided to find a creative way to attract the children's eyes to a sign and also to a number so they can identify where they're at. So we visually wanted to attract their eyes to a character. Also, we wanted to put a number on there so they know where they're at. So if they do get lost, they can tell the lifeguards, they can tell our ocean rescue members, and they can tell our police department. Our Ocean Rescue Battalion Chief came up with a Know Your Avenue campaign, and this campaign is strictly to ensure that people going onto the beach are able to visually see an avenue and be able to identify it. All of the hotels look the same as you move down the beach, so it's easy to get lost. So this Know Your Avenue campaign with Sunny Swell is going to not only help our first responders, it's going to help our ocean rescue, and it's going to help our tourists and visitors that come throughout the year.
Even one drowning is one too many. But the fact that our drownings have decreased and the patrol of our beaches has increased, I think that is the best measure of success for this program.
We have an incredible future with this ocean rescue program. We're one of only a handful of fire departments on the East Coast that are accredited by the United States Life Saving Association. We're fortunate to have an incredible group of employees that work here. We're supported by an incredible council, an incredible mayor, an incredible city council. We're certainly poised to continue growing in the right direction in the future.
We are joined by Chief Darren Rizzi, Chair of Human Relations Committee, as well as Chief Lori Vandeshoot, who is a member of Human Relations Committee, but also a lead of IDELP. IAFC Diversity Executive Leadership Program. You all have very long titles. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Okay, so talk to us. You're completing your first year as chair of the Human Relations Committee. What issues did the committee work on this past year?
The committee has been very busy. One of the biggest things or initiatives that we've been working on this year is increasing the diversity in committee sizes. So the IFC board came to HRC and was looking for strategies in order to include additional people that would be reflective of our community onto the various IFC committees. So they came to us, we worked on a strategy and presented that to the board, and you'll be seeing that in a rollout capacity.
I think another thing that we've had the honor of doing this year is really working collaboratively with the board as a bit of a sounding board and an opportunity for us to provide them with some advice on some of the really top of mind issues as it relates to diversity and inclusion as the board goes forward. So it's been a real honor to help them as they look at policies and procedures and some of the practices that we do.
We acknowledge there's a lot of diversity and inclusion efforts that are ongoing throughout the IFC. In regards to the committees and stakeholder groups. And so we've reached out to those affinity groups. For an example, the IAFF EHRC, so they have an elected Human Relations Committee. So myself and Tim Hopkins from the IFC went to their biannual meeting this year. It was the first time in the IAFF's 30-year history that the IAFC HRC was invited to meet. So we've been talking about collaborative efforts and synergies between the two groups to see how we can push that messaging out there to the fire service. The other groups that we've obviously been working with is IDELP and the Women's Chiefs Council. So we look forward to seeing a lot more initiatives coming out this year in regards to our collective work that we're doing with those groups.
We'd continue to encourage any affinity groups or any groups that are working with the IFC to reach out to us if they'd like to work collaboratively to talk about continuing to advance issues of human relations.
And I understand that you all met again this week at FRI. Can you tell us what some of the things were on the agenda?
So we met yesterday, and the big agenda item that we looked at was our strategic plan. So we have a 3-year strategic plan. We obviously celebrated the successes of this year, and then planned on a go forward on how we would meet our objectives and our goals and the outcomes that we've identified last year. And the 3 big things that we're looking at is training and education, obviously continuing to work with our affinity groups, and the third one being diversity and inclusion advocacy.
Continuing to spread the message about diversity and inclusion and why that will make us a better fire service. We're really excited about some of that advocacy work that we were able to do.
And looking at the big picture, what do you think are what is the biggest thing facing fire services in regards to human relations?
What we hear the fire chiefs asking the HRC about is recruitment. Obviously that's a big thing, and how to diversify their recruitment efforts, and then when the firefighters are hired on, how to ensure they feel included in the fire service, how they retain these firefighters, and how to ensure there's not barriers to promotion. So that's one of the things that we obviously are focusing on. We also want to focus on this year policies and procedures. That's a big one that the fire chiefs are asking us about. There are obviously over 50,000 fire departments in the U.S., and some fire departments have it figured out. Other fire departments are struggling when it comes to policies and procedures, and so we want to make sure that policies and procedures and best practices are readily available to all fire services so that they can ensure that they have appropriate measures in place.
And I think the other thing that's really top of mind, not just for the fire service, but also in our communities and including in the media, is some of the issues around respect in the workplace. And so we want a lot of the fire chiefs that we're able to talk to have asked for some support, some assistance on how they can ensure that some of their folks feel respected in the workplace, and how we can make sure that our communities feel respected, and that our firefighters in the communities feel respected.
All of our firefighters want to be proud of the organization they come from, and I feel the efforts that we're providing to the fire chiefs in regards to the resources will help that.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Chief Rizzi, Chief Vandershoot, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to Chief Rizzi and Chief Vandershoot. Our tours continue next as we head to one of the fastest growing counties in the U.S.
In July of 2014, the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors established the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System, which includes the Loudoun County Fire and Rescue and 15 volunteer fire and EMS companies. Loudoun County is one of the fastest growing counties in the nation, and is forecasted to grow by another 14% by 2025. The county has established itself as an international center for technology, communications, and transportation. Data Center Alley is the world's largest concentration of data centers, with more than 70% of the world's internet traffic passing through Loudoun County's digital infrastructure. The Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System delivers essential emergency and non-emergency fire and rescue emergency medical services from 20 stations strategically located across all 520 square miles of Loudoun County, Virginia.
The Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System Special Operations Teams coordinate preparedness and emergency response for a variety of hazards. Most frequently, our Special Operations Teams respond to hazardous materials responses, swift water rescues, and technical rescues. However, with the addition of Metro Rail in Loudoun County, we developed and train regularly on our Metro Rail simulator to ensure we are prepared with the specialized skills necessary to respond safely and effectively. The Command Competency Lab provides interactive simulations of incidents through computer programs and three-dimensional modeling. The exercises take firefighters, company officers, and command officers through simulated incidents to teach them to make better decisions on the fire ground, decisions that could potentially save firefighter and civilian lives. A simulation lasts about 20 minutes with 8 to 10 people participating in any given incident. Participants playing the roles of responding fire and EMS units stage with a portable radio in the classroom. Then as dispatched, they take their assignment at the simulation workstations. After the incident is complete, all participants reconvene in the classroom to review and learn from each incident. Of the 29,000 incidents to which our combined fire and rescue system members respond annually, approximately 75% of those incidents are EMS in nature.
The Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System has over 670 career personnel and roughly 800 operational volunteers.
As of January 2019, the Loudoun County Department of Fire and Rescue has made available to all volunteers the ability to go get an NFPA physical, which is a phenomenal health screening opportunity for all of us. Mental health in public safety, mental health concerns in public safety are really taking the spotlight now. Loudoun County has stepped out in front of everyone in the industry to include that forgotten segment, that would be the volunteer, and to allow the volunteer to get the same mental health access and EAP access that the career provider would get.
Loudoun's development of revolutionary programs such as the Factor Blood Delivery Program, our Fire and EMS Command Competency Program, and the newly launched system-wide smoke alarm program demonstrate that as a combination system, we successfully collaborated system members to bring innovation through teamwork.
Factor stands for Field Available Component Transfusion Response, which basically means we're able to bring all the components of blood, so the packed cells, the plasma, and the platelets, to a scene. In September 2017, we had a major incident involving a full-size school bus that had been converted into a food truck that hit a family of 5 broadside in their personal vehicle. So it created a very lengthy extrication, and we did a sort of game time decision on the fly to try to bring additional blood to the scene. That prompted us to say, okay, this is something we hadn't done before. How could we formalize this? It expands our capacity to deliver state-of-the-art care to our most critically injured patients at the point of injury, brings in a new capability that we've never had before, and is sort of a new model, a new paradigm in blood administration in the pre-hospital setting.
Innovation through teamwork describes the heart and core of our fire and rescue system here in Loudoun County. Working as a team, our career and volunteer system members seek new and innovative ways to provide emergency and non-emergency services. Our combined governance structure is a model for other systems to follow, using collaboration and cooperation as a core benchmark.
The responsibility of the Fire Marshal's Office is to ensure the fire and life safety of the citizens and visitors of Loudoun County. We take the opportunity to actually look at our fire data in order to determine what issues that we're seeing within the county, and that's how we focus our fire safety programs. The smoke alarm program has our personnel going out the first Saturday of every month from April to October. Smoke alarms are one of those devices that people tend to forget about because it's on their ceiling, and they don't realize that just like other appliances, they need to be replaced after 10 years. So the program helps us bring attention to that to homeowners and go into their homes and do an assessment for them. The system was able to partner with National Geographic Books and participate in their Doggy Defender series. Dolly the fire dog is one of our 3 working canines. Dolly is an accelerant detection dog, and her handler is Captain Bun Herndon, and they work together to investigate fires and make sure that they can do proper investigations. The opportunity to partner with Nat Geo really allows us to demonstrate and highlight what our Fire Marshal Office does, as well as reach a broad spectrum, because a lot of people misunderstand what we do and how we do it.
The growing resident population, an increasing number of visitors, the presence of critical infrastructure, and proximity to the nation's capital all require that the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System remain committed to providing ongoing coordinated efforts aimed at ensuring public safety and security.
We are joined by 2 fire chiefs from the Volunteer Combination Officer section. We have Chair Chief Chuck Flynn and Member at Large Chief Al Yancey. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So 25th anniversary of VCOS. Tell us what some of the new initiatives are this year.
Well, so the Volunteer Combination Officer section, we've been around 25 years, which is a huge success for us.
So we're celebrating that, obviously, for our membership and the whole board, actually. We have a 25th anniversary coin that we're handing out.
Very cool.
So we'd like to have that on our behalf. We've got a new initiative coming out that we worked with our partners in the EFO section on, dealing with you're the new chief, now what happens? Chief Yancey will talk about that. We're continuing to upgrade our education programs. They're going through rewrites right now that are offered out to our membership, and beyond hoses and helmet, we don't know what the next title will be, but we're looking at that right now. Fire rescue organizational guidance. Our websites are constantly being updated, and we're in social media, so we're trying to keep our members and those abreast of what's going on in the U.S. Fire Service.
Fantastic. And Chief Yancey, I understand that you have that new guide. You're the fire chief. Now what? Explain how this resource is going to help fire chiefs.
Yeah, we developed this year. This started a project in November for us. Again, as Chief Flynn mentioned, a partnership with the EFO section. And the idea is that we really didn't have anything out there to guide a chief into transitioning to being a new chief, or even an interim chief. Maybe it's short term, and what kind of things would they need to know when they're going into that position. And I know for myself that this would have been a great resource when I went into becoming a chief. So we're happy to be able to provide a guidance document for that.
And explain some of the other educational offerings that Chief Flynn was mentioning too.
Yeah, we have several courses that are offered at little to no cost for the VCOS membership. Beyond Hoses and Helmets is one of them. We have the FROG program, which is organizational guidance. We have a program about leading transition, going from volunteer into more combination, those kind of things to help a chief or organization move into that transition. Also, we have an ISO program that we're doing to help people understand a little more about the ISO process, the changes in the Insurance Service Office guidance and grading process. So several courses that we offer. Just need to contact the VCOS about hosting one in your local department.
Okay, and health is very important, obviously, to VCOS. In the past 2 years, you've released 2 health reports, the Yellow Ribbon Report on mental illness and the Lavender Ribbon Report on cancer prevention. Talk about what the next steps are in regards to health.
Sure. So actually with both reports, the yellow and the lavender, we started education programs. The yellow ribbon, there's like 3 separate courses set up. One is for the executive summary, quick hit, 1-hour class to start people thinking about behavioral wellness and keeping our people mentally prepared in their wellness, and not just us in society also, and realize that this is something everybody suffers from. So, and then there's a 2-hour class, which is more of an awareness level for that incoming firefighter, to get the department to understand that it's not just them, they have to get the families involved and engaged. And then the last course, more or less like an operational, is how do you set up a good wellness program. We've done the same thing working with some other partners in the NVFC, especially National Volunteer Fire Council, and working on the best practices for preventing firefighters' cancer. And the same thing, they've got classes on how to set up programs and what we should be doing. We're constantly releasing upgraded posters and information on how to maintain the health of our firefighters now and into the future.
And where can people find all of this information?
Everything can be found at vcos.org. There's plenty of links to the different pages. Volunteer Workforce Solutions will tie into, which is another program we work on as far as retention and recruitment of firefighters within the United States, both career and volunteer, because we're suffering the same way, trying to get people engaged.
Chief Flynn, Chief Yancey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you to Chief Flynn and Chief Yancey. Next in our profiles, we head to Louisiana.
The main mission of the St. George Fire Protection District is fire protection and protection of life and property from fire and medical emergencies. We started in 1967 as a volunteer department. I came actually in 1987, so I've been here a long time, but not quite from the beginning. And I've seen the department transition from a volunteer part-time paid contract to a fully career department today. We run about 9,000 calls a year. We have 205 people that work for us. We have 8 engine companies, 2 rescue engine companies and 2 ladder companies, staffed fully with 4 people assigned every day. St. George Fire Protection District is unique because of the people that work here. The men and women that work for us are just by far the best. They're very dedicated and trained and educated, and they do a phenomenal job.
Our community involvement here at St. George goes back to our inception as an organization. About 3 or 4 years ago, we got an idea that we wanted to kind of broaden our horizon in what we do with the community, and we thought that kids was a good place to start.
We work with the community on a number of issues. Currently, we have what's called Safety Land going on for 3 weeks in the month of July. And what that is children of the ages between 7 and 9 come to us, and we've partnered with Alliance Safety Council. We partner with them for these 3 weeks out of the month of July to teach children about safety.
They learn everything from fire safety, police safety, EMS, industrial safety things. They learn about driving safety, different things like that. So it's been really a wonderful experience, and it allows the public to come in and really see what we do here. And each kid leaves here with a little backpack with the St. George Fire Protection District logo on it, and it's just a wonderful relationship.
Being involved in the community, I guess, brings us to the heart of what we do. We get to know people, we get involved with schools, we get involved with assisted living facilities, which we have quite a number of in our district. It gets our firefighters down to the street level so they understand what goes on, they understand the culture, they understand the people. And these are the people that we're sworn to protect.
The commitment for the St. George Fire Protection District to training and education is very high. We have currently 5 employees that are graduates of the National Fire Academy Executive Officer program. We have some people on staff that teach for the National Fire Academy, and we currently this week have 2 employees that are at the Fire Academy.
The unique thing about St. George is we don't just train, we educate also. To sit for promotional tests, as a minimum, our firefighters have to have an associate degree in fire science or above. So part of what we do, for me, it's a trilogy: training, education, and experience. It goes hand in hand with providing the best firefighters in the world.
Over the past year, we created a St. George Firefighters Foundation. So one of the things that we did this past year was we created something called the LIFT Conference, the Louisiana Instructors and Firefighters Training Conference. We hosted it here in March, and we had roughly about 275 firefighters from around the state and neighboring states as well that attended the conference. So that was one element of the foundation that we wanted to do, and the whole premise of the foundation is training and education.
Currently, we have 2 big projects coming up. One is we're going to ramp up from BLS to ALS service. We're starting that program this fall. We also created the foundation for education and training, dealing with just not only firefighters, but the public in general. And we're working on a program to where we can have a conference center to bring things, when we talk about safety, to bring this educational thing to the public every day. Not just 3 weeks out of the year, but every day.
In the future, I see the fire department being able to provide a higher level of service to the community through more training opportunities, more educational opportunities. We're also advancing our level of care on the medical side, because really in the fire industry, the medical side is the majority of what we do every day here. And also with the community aspect of it, with a life safety park that will be able to create a one-stop shop, if you will, for everybody to come in here in a community-style environment and really learn things that could enhance their quality of life.
We are joined by Chief Dave Downey. You are the chair of the Urban Search and Rescue Committee. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us, first of all, why this committee was established.
Well, about a year ago, there was some discussions, first of all, at the Metropolitan Fire Chiefs, which is a part of the IAFC, and then the IAFC adopted the concept that, this is a national capability that we as the IAFC should take a leadership role at the fire chiefs level in recognizing this and bringing all the parties together. So it was an initiative that started about a year ago, so we're one of the newest committees.
And what's the primary goal of the committee?
The goal is to bring all the partners together. So in urban search and rescue, prior to September 11th, there really was a national capability, and then there was a patchwork of capabilities in larger fire departments. But post September 11th, many states have built capabilities and many areas have developed capabilities, and the idea here is to bring everybody together. So whether it's the federal partners, the state partners, the local partners, so that we have an idea of where these resources are.
So who is on the committee and what part of the fire service is represented?
Every part is represented, from the local fire department that has a special operations unit for water rescue or search and rescue, to the large type 1, which we call the large national teams. There's 28 of them. So we have representatives of the federal partners, the State Urban Search and Rescue Alliance, which kind of manages a lot of the state resources, and then the local partners.
Now, being a new committee, what are your goals for the future?
So one of our initial goals was to catalog these resources. Believe it or not, we really didn't have an idea at a national level where all the help is. We know where the 28 teams are in some of the bigger cities. So the number one goal was to catalog the resources. And then from there, we want to start building a capacity, validating you are what you say you are. So knowing where they are, what the capabilities are, what the staffing is, the equipment and so forth. And then the all-important funding, because a lot of the expense of these teams that could be used nationally are borne on the local fire entities. So helping leverage our abilities to seek additional funding.
Fantastic. Chief Downey, thank you so much for the information. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Next in our profiles, we head back to Texas.
Texas A&M Forest Service is one of only 5 state forestry agencies in the nation that's part of a land-grant university. And being part of Texas A&M, we are the service arm of the A&M University or land-grant system. And because of that, we have a duty to protect the citizens and the resources of the state, but we also do that through service. The only way that we can accomplish our mission is through the power of partnerships. We believe in partnerships and coalitions and building the capacity of others, whether it's a landowner, a citizen, a community, or a fire department. With a state as big as ours and as diverse as ours, we had to figure out a way, how do we accomplish protecting the people and the resources of this state. We do it through a tiered approach, which is called the Texas Wildfire Protection Plan. And there's really 5 stages of that. And the first one is predictive services, and very closely associated with that is planning and preparedness. And then we have mitigation and prevention. And probably the backbone of our tiered approach is capacity building. The last one is incident response.
Predictive services. We are the first predictive services group in the nation. We started back in '98. Our main task is to monitor and forecast the fire environment across the state. Forecasting and monitoring the fire environment helps our firefighters maintain situational awareness of fire potential and helps them understand what type of fire they may deal with on any given day.
Over 90% of wildfires in Texas are human-caused. Our main goal is to prevent fire occurrence and loss. The majority of wildfires in Texas are near communities, and so we work with those communities closely on mitigation and prevention programs. We do a lot of public outreach. We talk to schools, children, and adults all about ways that they can prevent wildfires from just their own homes on their own property. Simple things like debris burning, keeping your gutters clean, and just keeping your property clean from vegetation with short vegetation. Through the Texas Wildfire Risk Assessment Portal, or TexRAP, we can identify what areas have high risk to moderate risk and even low risk. And we work with them to, first of all, just even let them know what their risks are and what specific mitigation efforts they can do to reduce their risk. Not all fire is bad fire. Prescribed fire is a planned scientific approach to reduce or mitigate the effects of wildfire.
Texas is a big place, and we have 167 million acres. We have 28 million Texans, and there's only 500 TFS employees. So the only way that we can accomplish our mission is to work with others and build their capacity.
In Texas, there are over 1,800 fire departments. Over 1,500 of them are volunteer fire departments. And without question, they are the front line of defense. They are the ones that are going to arrive first. And we want them to be successful in protecting their communities, protecting their residences, and essentially lives. Our programs are designed to bolster the response capacity of fire departments in Texas. We offer the most aggressive suite of programs in the country. We have anywhere from grants for fire apparatus, equipment, training aids.
By law, through the authority of the Texas Department of Emergency Management, TDEM, the TFS is one of the state agencies that are a lead in incident response. And that requires not only responding to now, we are also part of recovery. So we go from incident response, incident management, and also recovery.
Our agency is the lead agency for the state of Texas in response to wildland fires. So it's our job to support our local fire departments and respond across the state to those incidents. We utilize our capacity building programs to increase our capabilities of our local fire departments, about 1,800 of those across the state. And we utilize a program called TIFMAS, Texas Intrastate Fire Mutual Aid System, and that allows us to move resources from non-impacted areas into other impacted areas to support and supplement state resources.
The only way that we can accomplish our mission is through the power of partnerships. We've got to build capacity and work and build coalitions and relationships every day. The bottom line of all this is a point that I've made a number of times to elected officials, is the fact that if all hell breaks loose, I want to be in Texas because we work together and we know how to handle it.
It's truly one of the most anticipated parts of every FRI. We're talking about the exhibit hall. IAFC TV has the highlights from this year's show. That'll do it for us from FRI 2019. From all of us at AIFC TV, we hope you enjoyed our coverage and we wish you safe travels home. See you next year in Phoenix. IAFC TV has all the coverage you want with the big events and key newsmakers. Be sure to check out our content, which is updated each day here on YouTube from FRI here in